How are you today? My name is Áine Homer. I am the Baby Reflux Lady, and today I am answering the question. This is the wrong question that's on one of them. Give me a moment. I'm answering the question of can an overactive letdown cause reflux? So obviously this is for the breastfeeding community, where so often I get told by parents that their baby gets really bad coughing, choking, spluttering, etc., gulping, can't cope with the milk, and then they finish the sentence going, "But I got a really fast letdown, so I think that's the cause." I am going to be quite controversial on this one. I don't believe that an overactive letdown or a fast letdown or the speed of the milk release from a breast causes reflux. I actually believe that every single child should be able to cope with any speed of letdown from a parent's breast. The reason being is that if baby is getting overwhelmed with the milk flow, if they are reacting and it's like, oh, that's too much milk right now, I can't cope with it, it pretty much means that their tongue or their cheeks or their mouth structures are not working as they should. Okay. If you have comments, by the way, stick the comments in and I'm going to, I'll bring them up on screen or I'll share them. I'll do my best to answer. So this is in relation to overactive letdown and causing reflux. Now, I'm going to explain to you probably the most important thing about an infant's tongue that you are ever going to learn. First of all, let me know, has anybody ever explained to you how your child's tongue is supposed to work while they are feeding? Pop me a yes, pop me a no, something in the comments so I know that people are here. And if you're watching it on the replay, please let me know on the replay as well. Do a hashtag replay. Anybody know how the tongue is supposed to work? Somebody hasn't been told. Somebody has been told. That's amazing. Somebody else hasn't been told. Okay, so I'm going to explain this. Super. And for those of you who have been told, I'd love to know if what I explain resonates and is basically the same thing. So we have the tongue. I want you to put your hand on your throat and swallow. Okay. The tongue is a really, really complex group of muscles. It's actually 12 different muscles. Okay. It's a really, really complicated group of muscles that work in so many different ways. If you put your hand here and swallow, you can feel everything here moving. Bit of a hint, it's not just in our mouth. So, and I will say this is not to scale. So if there are any incredible model makers who can help me make a working model of this, then please reach out and let me know. I'm looking for you. The tongue sits in the mouth a bit like this. We've got the anterior at the front, we've got the posterior at the back, and we've got there's like a chunk of the tongue comes down the throat. Okay. And we have, it sort of moves in a wave-like motion. When we swallow, what's supposed to happen is the tongue goes up and down like a little wave, pushing and moving milk for babies, food for adults, from the front of the mouth to the back of the mouth in a really controlled manner. Because if it's not controlled, we choke. Okay, if it's not controlled, this activity gets dangerous. So a baby, and this is actually relevant for babies who are bottle fed as well as breastfed. The breast tissue, let's use breastfeeding because we're talking about breastfeeding today. The same applies to a bottle feed. The breast tissue should be held firmly by the baby between the front of the tongue, the anterior, which lifts up, and the upper gum. So the breast tissue essentially is here. This is why I need models. Sits here. And when the tongue moves, what it's supposed to do is do a gentle pulsing up and down. So this is where the movement of the tongue at the back, the posterior, when it goes up, oh, look at that. It blocks any milk flow that's coming out of the breast. When it comes down, it releases the milk. It comes up, it blocks the milk. When it comes down, it releases the milk. Does that make sense? Because this simple movement, the ability of the back of the tongue back here to move up and down properly is absolutely key for babies to be able to control mom's letdown. Is this making sense? Please let me know. It's really important that this simple movement, because what happens is if the tongue has a restriction, often described as a posterior or an anterior tongue tie, anterior means it's at the front. If there's an anterior tongue tie, there is absolutely a posterior tongue tie because the frenulum comes from the back forward. If there's a tie at the back holding the back of the tongue down, then it can't move up and block that breast tissue to say, no, I'm putting a stopper on this. I don't want this milk coming out right now. Please let me know. Does this make sense? Really important that I'm actually communicating this properly, especially because I'm using my hand as a tongue rather than an actual model, which I have not been able to get my hands on. Is this happening? Christina, by the way, does this make sense to you? Brilliant. This is making sense to people. Super. This is why an overactive letdown does not cause reflux. What can happen is for these babies where they don't have this movement in the back of the tongue to really control the flow of milk from the breast, to control how they swallow. I'll do another video in another week or two about the rest of the swallow, which is super important. It means that they can essentially, their mouths fill up with more milk than they're able to cope with. And so they're like, ugh, they get overwhelmed. They end up coughing, spluttering, gagging with it. Because if they're not able to stop the flow of milk, they're not able to fully control the amount of air in their mouth. And if they're not able to control the amount of air in the mouth, they're not able to control the amount of air going into their stomach. Now, when the stomach gets full of air and milk, if it gets stretched to its maximum capacity, then when it tries to churn, it forces milk up into the esophagus. And this becomes a cause of reflux. Okay, so the letdown itself does not cause the reflux. We need to look at what else is going on for baby. Many babies who have an overactive letdown actually, or babies obviously don't have the overactive letdown. Many babies for whom parents say it's the overactive letdown, they can't cope with it. And these children have something else going on. Very often, but not always, an oral restriction. That means they're not able to feed properly. It could be down to latch. It could be how baby is latching. Okay, it could be down to position in feeding. It might be that sometimes they are, they are better, they're more comfortable in one position than another. It might be down to how tired they are. Some babies feed much better when they're alert. Some babies feed much better when they are tired. It could be down to how hungry they are. Very often a baby who's hungry just go, give me the milk now. And they're not able to concentrate and control what they're doing. Again, hopefully this makes sense. So not all babies where there's an overactive letdown have reflux. Not all can control it. Some can control it really, really well. We always need to look at everything that's going on for a child. It's really important that where we see babies who have oral restrictions and tongue ties, that we do our best to support them, to do any muscle tension release work that needs to be done. And that if there is an oral restriction, like a tethered, a tongue tie or a lip tie that's affecting them, or buccal ties that are affecting how they can, the freedom of movement in their cheeks, which might be then in turn affecting how effectively they can drink and eat, then it's appropriate to address these and then provide the correct after support as well. So I'm going to keep it short today. I don't see there's any questions coming at the minute, which is fine, but hopefully that makes sense. If you believe your baby is reacting and has reflux and that it might be caused by your overactive letdown or a fast letdown or something, we're saying it's not caused by that, but no doubt the two are connected somehow. And we just need to connect a few more dots to figure out exactly what is the right thing to do for this child at this time. So I am back on Monday. I can't remember what I'm back talking about. I think it might be something to do with, is baby reflux normal? That's what I'll be back with Monday, 2:30 p.m. And I shall see you then. Bye-bye.